Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Galetz, and I'm an Industry Education Council Coordinator working with the Regina District Industry Education Council and Sunwest School Division. Today it's my pleasure to introduce Kendall McFaull, who's a production system specialist working for John Deere. Kendall is a graduate of Rosetown Central High School and a graduate of the Bachelor of Science in Engineering program at the U of S. He will describe the work of a production system specialist and the path he took to get there. Just a reminder before we begin, the session is being recorded and will appear on the RDIEC YouTube channel for others to view in the future. We'd also like to request that any students who watch this session go to the website at www.rdiec.ca and complete the student survey that can be found near the top of the website. Completion of the survey gets your name in a monthly draw for a $50 gift card. Again, the website is www.rdiec.ca. Welcome, Kendall. I'll let you take it from there.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. So like you said, I'm here to talk about production systems specialist, which is my title within John Deere Canada. So my name is Kendall McFaull. I grew up in Rosetown, Saskatchewan, and I'm currently based out of Saskatoon. So I took my mechanical engineering degree from the University of Saskatchewan and graduated in 2018. And I do work for John Deere Canada. So with John Deere Canada, the Canadian office is in Grimsby, Ontario. The world headquarters for John Deere are in Moline, Illinois, but I work from a home office and cover a territory in Saskatchewan and a little bit of Alberta. So it kind of goes all the way up to Melfort, PA, really all the way north until you reach the bush, down to Central Butte, Rosetown area outlook, and then over to Vermilion, St. Paul, and Lloydminster on the Alberta side. So again, work out of a home office, but kind of travel and cover that territory, and I'll talk about kind of what that looks like in a day-to-day sense. So just to get an understanding, there are some jobs within John Deere Canada. So like I mentioned, we have the office where we have obviously office managers. That's where my manager resides from. But we also have territory teams. So there's 8 territories total in Canada. And then within those territories, there's usually around 4 people that work in the territory. So we have territory business manager. They're focused on sales, incentives, managing relationships with the dealers. And trying to find and make sure that the financing and some of the sales numbers really work for the customers. Then we have the territory customer support manager. They're more on the customer support service side and warranty side. So if you bought a piece of machinery, it broke down, you work through them to get some of that warranty and support. We also have territory aftermarket business manager. So they focus mainly on parts and aftermarket or upgrade opportunities to the current equipment. And then there's production system specialist, which is what I do. And we're more focused on the product training, digital engagement, and in-field support. So production system specialist, kind of a wordy title. It's pretty vague. Kevin and I were talking before this. Honestly, I don't think my parents know entirely what I do. So what is it? It's essentially a product specialist. So the reason it's called a production system specialist, that means that I cover all production steps in the small grains farming world. So here in Western Canada, that's usually tillage, anything to do with seeding, so that's the big 4-wheel drive tractors, air seeding equipment, application, so that's sprayers and high capacity nutrient applicators, harvest, so combines and anything to do with harvest machines, and then also farm management, so that's the digital platform, working with precision ag technologies, and kind of any data that's captured from the machines can now be viewed online to help farmers make better decisions. So I'm kind of the liaison between the factory and the John Deere dealership. So as new products roll out, I help train the dealership personnel on that equipment and the technologies. We also give feedback and kind of test some of the new equipment as the factory releases it. So if there's ever anything that customers want to see changed, dealerships or dealership personnel want to see changed, I'm kind of the middleman that relates that back to the factory for future development. I also participate in customer clinics and demonstrations. So whether that be bringing people into the dealership, helping them train them on new equipment, or the demonstration piece is kind of like test driving a vehicle. So if we have a new combine out, some farmers that are potential buyers of that will then schedule a demonstration. We'll go into the field with that combine, gives them a chance to see it in action side by side with their current product. So we also help dealers drive a digital engagement, and I've kind of mentioned that before, in precision ag tools. So we have this tool called Operations Center, and essentially that's where they can manage their farm from a web-based platform. Also support in-field optimization. on that new equipment. So again, that's back in the field, making sure it's running as it should, and it's optimized to its full potential. So that just essentially means tweaking it, making sure that it's running as good as it can be. And then the last thing is we provide feedback again to the factories on the equipment for future customer needs. So here in the top right, we kind of see that field prep or tillage. We have plant and seed, apply and harvest. And then throughout that, there's a managed portion that circles the entire thing. And that's talking about the farm management portion of it. So the day-to-day hours vary depending on the day. So it's typically 8 to 5. You know, that's what we're paid for. It's a salary-based position, and we'll talk about that later. But it does range and vary depending on the season. So typically busiest in the spring when there's seeding going on and spraying going on. Then also in the fall, when obviously all the farmers in the field trying to harvest and get their crop off. So in those days, the timing can really vary quite a bit. It could be 7 in the morning, 6 in the morning till 10, 11 at night. But then you can make up that in the summer and the winter when things are a bit slower. So the days vary. They include meetings, answering questions, emails, training, both at the dealership and obviously with the current situation with COVID virtually as well. And then in-field support, which I was talking about before, and of course, lots of travel throughout the territory. So we have some pictures here. There's a few pictures of me in field, the one with the sprayer doing some turn compensation testing. Then we have a clinic with Pattison Agriculture on the right. And then with service equipment, we have a in-class training that you can see here at the top. So facility location, I mentioned this before, really I work at 3 main places. The home office, which you can see here with a little dog bed beside the desk because we just got a puppy. The dealerships, so there's a picture of a dealership here, and then obviously that in-field portion. So we also get the opportunity to visit factories in the US, headquarters, and then when there is shows and events and trade shows, we also attend those and are the face of John Deere for the customers, answering any questions we have at those trade shows. So that'd be Farm Progress Show, Ag in Motion, those kind of the farm trade shows we have in Western Canada. So skills and traits, you do need a technical understanding. So if I'm relating that back to high school, that's the math, physics, chemistry, biology, business classes as well. For university classes, then that ties into commerce. I took machine design through engineering. Also, any agriculture or engineering related university classes would also apply. You need an understanding of agricultural trends and practices. So, you know, growing up on a farm is definitely an asset, but not required, as long as you kind of understand what goes into agriculture and where the current trends are and current practices are. You need strong communication skills, so both written and oral. I think that's an undervalued thing growing up, and something I wish, you know, maybe I would have worked on a little harder, is being able to make sure I can properly articulate my thoughts, both written and through speech, because a lot of the communication used to be face-to-face. Now with COVID, a lot of it's written, and making sure you're getting your point across, you know, the proper way is really important. And obviously the presentation and ability to help others learn is huge as well. So you can see here on the right, that's me in front of a combine giving a presentation on one of our new combines and some of the parts in front of it as well to go on with that. Time management is huge because we manage our own schedule and travel. Obviously my boss is in the head office in Grimsby, Ontario, so we're kind of relied on to make sure we're doing our job, make our own schedule, build it up as we see fit, and then travel throughout the territory to make sure everything's getting done. And the biggest thing is help articulate value of features and benefits. It's easy to talk about something, but you have to be able to know your audience, know who you're talking to, and adapt that to make sure that it's something that they find value in and they understand. Personality for the job. We talked about this already, but public speaking is obviously very important. The role every day involves speaking to dealership personnel, factory, customers. You need to have a passion for agriculture and farmers, as that's the main part of the job. That's the industry we're in. Then also a passion for new technologies and emerging agricultural practices. So the ability to not only be excited about what we currently have, but also new opportunities that will be coming in the future as farming technology continues to advance. Ability to carry on a conversation. And this, may seem funny, but you get put in scenarios where you're field side, the combine's going, you're sitting there talking to a customer. It can't just be an awkward silence of standing there watching the machine go up and down the field. So you have to have the ability to, have a conversation with somebody, relate to them, understand what's important. We obviously talk about the machinery, then also talk about just life in general, things that are going on. You have to be self-motivated, again, with building your own schedule and not having a direct reporter, not having an office to go into every day. You have to make sure you're self-motivated to do your work and get it done accordingly. Confident working in a team. So I mentioned that, we have 8 territories in Canada. We work together within those 8 territories, but then also with those 4 people in the territory, then also amongst each territory itself. So lots of teamwork, lots of sharing across, so we're not duplicating any work. Ability to balance that field and office work. So you kind of have to have a good mix of both sitting at your desk, doing the administration, doing the detailed prep and planning, as well as the infield work. Then problem solving without direct supervision. So the ability to be in the field, see a problem, and then apply your problem solving skills to make sure you get an answer, whether that be you have the answer yourself, or you know who to reach out to make sure that you're solving that problem that's going on. So now we'll kind of talk about rewards now that we know what the job is. I think the biggest reward for me is working with farmers and seeing their solutions benefit them and make their job easier. When I first decided I wanted to be an engineer, I was pretty young. I loved building with things. I loved being on the farm, tinkering with stuff. I originally thought that I wanted to be automotive engineer. I loved vehicles. I loved cars. I wanted to be able to build cars. Then I realized that for me to do that, I had to probably move to the US or at least Eastern Canada to work in a factory to kind of be on that design team. And as I got more and more involved in the farm as I grew up, I saw, how much time my dad was spending at the farm, how much work was put in from my dad, my uncle, my grandparents that all farm. And I thought, how awesome would it be to be able to design something or, work with a team that's making farming easier, whether that be reducing time in the field, making it more accurate so they can produce better yields, which goes to the next point of helping feed the world. So that's kind of how I pivoted from being focused on the automotive side of design to the current role I'm in now is how can we help farmers with solutions that benefit them, make their job easier, allow them to spend more time with their family, and help feed a larger portion of the world. Helping others understand the product and be more confident in is also a reward. So, as we host trainings, seeing people understand the product better, then seeing them implement it in the field in front of customers and seeing the success they have is a reward for me as well. I really love being able to spend time outside. So anytime we're in the field, as we can see here with this picture, it's beautiful surroundings. I love being in Western Canada. I love being outside. And it also gives me exposure to leading edge technology and products. So, John Deere is one of the leaders in technology and integrating that into their machinery. So being able to see that technology firsthand and work with it and give feedback to the factories is also pretty rewarding. But with any jobs, there's also some challenges, some stressors. I think work-life balance is probably the toughest one. Like I said before, there's long days during seeding and harvest and trying to balance that, make sure you're getting your job done, but also be able to spend time with family. And then I also go back and try to help out on our local family farm as well. There's lots of travel, so sometimes that cuts into the workday of just getting from point A to point B. You also need to balance the needs of the customers. So the customers have certain wants, the dealerships have certain wants and needs, and then there's also from the John Deere side, our branch or the factories also have their wants and needs, and you're kind of the person that's in between all this. So you have to balance and make sure that each one is getting their wants and needs recognized, and you're balancing all those and not just pushing from one side. Troubleshooting time-sensitive problems can get pretty stressful sometimes in the field if things aren't going right. And then I mentioned this before about being a production system specialist covering all those products. That also has its challenges and stressors itself, as I'm not just a combine specialist or a sprayer specialist. We're expected to know a lot over a wide array of products as well. So salary and benefits of the job. It is salary based, so we're not paid hourly, although we are expected to work overtime. We just then can make up those hours later by building our own schedule. So it ranges quite a bit, from 70,000 when you first start out to about 100,000, and it's dependent on experience and performance. So every year, depending on your performance, there's usually some form of pay increase if the performance is above satisfactory. I will say that the 100,000 range, or the end of that range, would be somebody that's been in this job for a long period of time. The production system specialist, usually I'd say life expectancy of the job is probably 3 to 4 years, and then somebody moves on, maybe even a little bit shorter than that, and they use it kind of as a stepping stone to continue to move up. And then some people, specifically in the US, have been in this job for a long time as well. It all depends on what the person enjoys doing the most, but they usually move to another territory job or a factory job as well. There is a bonus, so it's a yearly bonus, and it's based on company performance. So we all obviously contribute to how the company does, and then there's a bonus paid out on that. And then in terms of benefits, that's where John Deere really does well, or as a territory role, there is some benefits that come with that. So we get a company vehicle to use, laptop, phone, clothing, and all the work tools are all provided to us within that vehicle. We had good coverage on medical, dental, and there's also wellness reimbursement. So whether that be, this year I used it for some weights, because we're obviously with COVID, we weren't going to the gym as much. So I use it for a weight set for my garage. You can use it for golf clubs, anything that kind of promotes wellness and activity. There's a company pension plan, and there's also a registered retirement savings plan, or RSP, or the option for John Deere stock, which the company will match. So as you contribute each month or each paycheck, the company will match a certain percentage of that to help build that up for your retirement. So educational requirements, any territory role within John Deere does require a post-secondary or a university degree. So the PSS role is comprised in Canada right now mainly of engineers or agriculture degrees with technical backgrounds. Other roles, such as territory business manager, aftermarket, are more ag business, commerce focused. So an agriculture background is definitely a benefit, but not a requirement. We have a lot of people that work on even the PSS team that grew up, enjoying the technical side of equipment, enjoying or understanding that, but did not grow up on a farm, and they do really well in the job as well. And you have to have the ability to work well in a team. So any of the team sports, being a team player or working on team projects in school or group projects, all those kind of directly translate to this role as well. There's also lots of opportunities to learn once you're within John Deere. So there's JDU, which is John Deere University, where you go to learn about essentially a wide array of things. You can learn about the equipment itself. You can learn about sales, service, kind of understand things you need to know in the business better. You get operator certificates for running the equipment. And they also have the ability for, if it's approved, external education opportunities, or external, sorry. So whether that be a CCA, which is Certified Crop Care Advisor, which I'm currently taking right now, or your MBA, so Master's in Business Administration, John Deere will pay for some of those for you to continue your education and gain more experience that way. So my journey was a little bit different. So like I said, I've grown up on a farm, had a variety of different jobs in high school, working at the local car dealership, helping out in the farm, a few other different things. I played a high level of hockey growing up, which helped with my time management, public speaking, and then that working as a team towards goals. So I kind of bounced around. I did graduate from Rosedown Central High School. Also spent some time in Saskatoon at St. Joe's High School, and in Moose Jaw as well at Vanier Collegiate down there. So kind of bounced around following my hockey. But that did help again with the time management of balancing hockey and school within high school, and then also public speaking and kind of being a little bit more in the spotlight as well. I then transitioned after playing hockey to, or I shouldn't say, after playing junior hockey, to university hockey while at the U of S, taking mechanical engineering. And then that's kind of where I started to get more career focused in what I was doing for summer jobs. So for 2 years, I was the hockey camp coordinator at the U of S, and that was the person in charge of the full day, full month hockey programs. So I hired staff, I did scheduling, I ordered all the equipment for it, and kind of got that management point of view from that hockey camp coordinator. Then I took a summer internship with John Deere in 2016, and that's kind of where I got my first exposure to John Deere. I worked with a T670 combine and traveled all around Western Canada with that. Rather than going back to John Deere, although I really enjoyed the job and obviously I ended up there eventually, I wanted to make sure that I saw different industries, understood what different industries had to offer to make the proper choice when I graduated from university. So I took a project manager role with Wright Construction, and they actually helped build and manage the project portion of the new biology building at the U of S. Following graduation, I then played professional hockey in Belfast in Northern Ireland. And when over playing hockey, John Deere gave me a call, asked if I wanted to come back, and they had a job availability in Saskatoon. So I returned to John Deere in June of 2019. I've been working there ever since and really enjoying it as, again, I'm working on that territory role based out of Saskatoon, allows me to be in the office, but also in the field, and then allows me to also be close to Rosetown, be able to go out and help on the family farm as well. So there's lots of opportunities within John Deere. They range quite a bit. It's very dependent on, I guess, where you want to be located, and if you're willing to go wherever, there's a ton of opportunities. So we do have summer intern positions. That's a university summer job, which I took in 2016. There's an ag and turf sales and marketing development program, and that's post-graduation, and we're currently hiring for that role. So what that is essentially you spend a year and a half bouncing around different areas or different jobs within John Deere. You spend 5 to 6 months in a role or working on a project, so you get exposure to the PSS role. You get exposure to kind of the service and customer support role, the sales and management portion of it, or the business manager role. You're not directly in that role, but you're assisting somebody in that role or working on a project that helps that, so that when you are done your term in the development program, you have a better understanding of what job you would like to do within John Deere, and then also John Deere has a chance to see where they think would be the best fit for you. Within the Grimsby office, we also have territory roles, obviously, which I mentioned before, from the PSS to the business manager, customer support manager, aftermarket business manager, and the finance manager. And then for Grimsby office, that's where the management roles are, and also our tactical sales and marketing division. And then within John Deere, there's many opportunities in the United States or abroad, whether it be Europe, Australia, New Zealand. There's John Deere factories and John Deere offices really all over the world. So you can have a product manager roles at factories, marketing representatives. The list really goes on depending on your background and job experience. So work-life balance, it's probably the hardest part of the job. I like it because there's a good balance of office and infield work, but the hardest part is your phone is always tied to work. And the busiest season is in the spring and fall. But you do have that flexibility to tailor the schedule in the summer and winter to accommodate that. So I guess you just got to be able to have an internal balance, or know when you need to answer that call at night, and when there's times you can push it off or do it tomorrow. As we kind of worked through COVID, there was more and more virtual meetings, which seemed to kind of fill the calendar more. And then it seemed like your day always went from 8 to 5, and there's always more work to do after the fact. And being at home, you have to have the ability to know what needs to be done that day and when to close the laptop, spend some time with family, and make sure you're getting the balance between the two. So it is, because you can tailor your schedule and accommodate that, it is a pretty good work-life balance, as long as you have the right mindset and understanding of how to balance that internally to make sure you're still doing your job. So with that kind of summarizes the production system specialist and my journey within John Deere. I think it's pretty exciting. It's something I really enjoy doing. Been at it for almost 2 years now. It's one of those jobs you're continually learning. The equipment's constantly changing, the technology's changing, farming practices are even changing a little bit. So there's always something new and exciting to learn, both on my side, and then the ability to teach that to others, and see some of those benefits or some of those solutions benefit them as well, is probably the most rewarding part of the job.
That's excuse me, that's excellent, Kendall. I can see that it's it's probably really hard to keep up to the technology. I mean, probably maybe not so much for you guys once you're in it. It's, you know, I'm not sure John Deere changes everything wholesale every time they put a new product out, but just to be able to teach that to other people, you have to be on top of your game. I can see that, that's for sure. Question I maybe had was, you mentioned that you mentioned all the different jobs that you could maybe get from this. What's the most likely, like, you said people maybe after 2 or 3 years move out of that production system specialist. That's maybe a typical thing. What's the advancement? What does it really prepare you for in John Deere or a similar company?
For the production system specialist role, I think you get good exposure to a large portion of the business. So through the demonstrations to customers and working with the customers, you kind of get some of that sales exposure as well. Through the in-field optimizations and training, we kind of get exposure to the customer support side. So I think the opportunities are really wherever that person chooses to go. We see a lot of people go from the production system specialist to the territory customer support manager and work through the warranty service side, really troubleshooting some of the major issues if we do ever have any. But then we also see people transition to the sales side and work strictly on sales support with that. Being said that, there's also people who want to travel with John Deere, and then they take a product manager role at a factory and kind of work. What a product manager role would do at the factory is you would work 3 to 5 years out on a project. So if I started right now, let's say with air seeding, we would be working on a list of customer needs and trying to help develop a product with engineering, marketing, sales and development, and making sure that we have a product 5 years from now that satisfies that customer need. And we honestly wouldn't even know necessarily what that looks like at this moment. So you kind of take a project from start to finish in that role.
So about 3 to 5 years in advance. So you'd be, that mechanical engineering background you have, that would be pretty beneficial for that then?
For sure, yeah, that would definitely help. Wouldn't necessarily be part of the design team. I wouldn't be designing specific components of that, but I'd kind of be helping oversee the project that was going on. So having the mechanical engineering background would then help relate with those engineers and understand what's going on, or take a customer need into a specific feature in that equipment.
Good. Another question, and I mean, you brought it up in some of your background and in your journey about your hockey experiences. As a WHL player, did you take advantage of the scholarship program or at university? Can you explain that, just so students maybe some hockey players are listening to this?
That's a very good point, and probably something I should include in that. Definitely utilize that. So every year that I played in the Western Hockey League, I got a year of tuition and books paid for at the U of S. So that definitely helped my decision in going to university. And I think we're seeing more and more Western Hockey League players, or CHL players for that matter, all over Canada take that opportunity and run with it. Like I had the opportunity I was kind of a fringe professional hockey player where I finished my WHL season in the American Hockey League. So I had the chance to go back to Oklahoma City and play in the American Hockey League, chase that dream of still trying to play in the NHL. But I saw there was a lot of value in making sure I had a degree first, and going to the U of S, playing at a high level, being able to get that degree, and then at the end of my time at the U of S, I mean, I still had the opportunity to go play professional hockey, and I did in Belfast. So I think the WHL has a great program going on, allowing you to go to university, not have to pay for tuition. I mean, I think it's arts and science tuition, so there was a little bit extra on top of that to take engineering. Then also being able to play for the U of S, the Huskies, there's a scholarship with that as well. So in terms of tuition and books, that was all covered either through the WHL scholarship or through the university scholarships as well. So it's definitely not something to take for granted or take lightly. And I think it's a great opportunity for anybody who's that involved in any sport, really, hockey or any other high school sport.
Well, thanks. That's important. Do you think, your job in the future, like you're at home with COVID, would you be working out of home if it wasn't for COVID?
So yeah, I would be working out of home still, just wouldn't be as many days of the week. So these roles have always been home office based or territory based. We don't have an office in Saskatoon. There's a training center in Regina. There's a parts depot in Regina as well. There's a reman facility in Edmonton. Outside of that, the only other offices or everything else is out in Eastern Canada. So I'd say typically this time of year, we're getting into the busy portion. Obviously, there's a little bit of snow out the window right now, but as spring comes, I'd probably be on the road 3 to 4 days a week. That's probably changing right now with COVID, and I'm only going 1 to 2 times a week, which it will pick up in May, but usually traveling kind of half the time throughout the week, and that's been scaled back due to COVID, but still always based out of a home office.
It makes kind of, you wonder if homes of the future will start to have more design features for that too. You know, I mean, like a lot of homes haven't been designed that way, so it could be something we see in the future with home design. And it could, you know.
For sure, I think a lot of people, as we had a lot of our head offices in the U.S. get shut down too, and people got forced back into their homes. We saw a lot of, especially with cameras and through a lot of virtual meetings, a lot of makeshift offices in kitchens, bedrooms, etc. And that's something that people have had to adapt to. And you're probably right, where we will see more of a focus of that going forward.
Are there any other questions from the group?
No, actually, well done, Kendall. We thought of a couple in the office, but you answered them all before we even had a chance to ask them. So thank you so much for that, and also for sharing your scholarship journey as well too. I think students, it's good for them to know, you know, those other options as well for post-secondary. So thank you.
Awesome, good to hear.
Well, that's it from me too, Kendall. Thank you very much. I'll send you the link. So thank you again.
Thanks for having me. And honestly, if anybody has any questions directly, they come to you, and you guys can't answer through this presentation, they can also reach out to me as well.
Yeah, I'll make sure that those get to you then. Okay, thanks a lot. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.